Hey guys, welcome to Coding Simplified, and today we'll see about the Kafka, like what is Kafka, why it is used, when it is used, and what are the different components of Kafka, right? So let's start with it. Now, Kafka is basically a message queue, right? So now we have a distributed systems when we have the different microservices. So to interconnect the microservices or to send the message from one microservice to another microservice, we need a message queue, right? And message queue should be very good so that we can, because nowadays we have the terabytes of data, right? And we want so and if you want to send from one microservice to another microservice, then our message queue should be asynchronous. It should be very good, and we should have a proper producer and the consumer, right? So that is why here it comes the message queue, and the Kafka is most famous message queue that we are using nowadays, right? So you could say that Kafka is a distributed streaming platform, right? So distributed streaming platform is basically we are streaming the messages, right? So what we do, we send the streams of records from one microservices and the another microservice which is a consumer which consume these messages. And that is why you can see in the from the diagram itself that what we are saying, from these apps we are basically passing the message, and we have this stream processor which is connecting through these to these microservices, right? So this is the main part of Kafka, right? To send the message, to send the streams of record from one microservice, from one component to another component, right? This component can have, one component can have the memcached, another component can have the central or the database, it can have the solar, it can have the HDFS or whatever component it is. So basically it does the kind of the work of message queue. Now why Kafka is used, or why Kafka is better than the other message queues, right? So now we'll see one by one. Now Kafka is very fast, and it uses the IO efficiently by batching and compressing record. So what it does, let's say you have the streams of record, and you have, let's say, one record which is one gigabyte. So what it does, it will basically break them and it will compress them, and then it will process the data into batches. So this batch size can have the, like, let's say if the batch size is 200 MB, right? So basically to create a batch of 5 batches of the 200 MBs. So that is why it does the processing in the compressing first of all, and then in the batches, and that is why it efficiently sends the data. Now Kafka is used for decoupling the data streams. So basically again we, let's say if we can have the different data streams for a system. So now for our systems, what we are doing, basically we have the one system where we are passing the message through the data which users are accessing in the sites. So this is the entity data. Now another data can have where you have the feed data, another third data you can have where you have the profile data, right? So basically what we are doing, we have the different data streams. So microservices is one thing. Now we have the two microservices, but we have the different data streams. So Kafka easily handle that. So what we can do, we can create the different topic of each data stream, and then we can separate them, right? So that is why it is written here, Kafka is used for decoupling the data streams. So this is very, very good use of Kafka. Now Kafka is used to stream data into data lakes, applications, and real-time stream analytics system. So data lakes means whenever we are talking about the big data, so Kafka is very efficiently used when we are talking about the big data, when we have the gigabytes of data, terabytes of data. So what we have the so much of data, and in that case this Kafka message queue will take the one data from the producer, and it will just put the data into the consumer, right? So it's very good for the big data processes. Now Kafka cluster retains all the published record. So either if you give the size that, okay, this is a limit of my data that you can put, but if you don't give the limit, then it will record data until it runs out of disk space, right? So that's the beauty of Kafka. It has the record of all the published record, right? Now Kafka is very scalable message storage. You can add the so much cluster, so many things of the Kafka, and then you can easily scale the Kafka message queue. Now, what are the different components that you use in the Kafka, right? Whenever we are designing the Kafka, how can you use this? So now one component is the producer. Producer means which produce the data, which sends the messages, right? Now another component is consumer, means which receives the data. So any consumer can subscribe to the server and the broker, and then they can communicate through from producer to consumer. Now the broker you could call it's a server, right? So producer and consumer interact through Kafka server. So what we do, basically we have the Kafka server, we have the system, and then producer subscribe producer produce the message from to the server, and then the consumer subscribe to that topic, and then it can receive the message, right? So basically in Kafka we have the topics, right? So we'll come to the topic. So now we have the cluster. So cluster means that Kafka is basically used in the distributed systems, right? When we have the so much microservices, so many components, and a cluster can have many servers, right? So this cluster term is for the many servers. We can have so many nodes, so many servers in the Kafka pipeline. Now the topic is basically is to identify the unique streams. So like I was talking, let's say we have the two microservices and we have the different kind of messages. So what we can do, we can say, okay, this is a one topic. So this one topic, let's say we are talking about the Facebook, and let's say if people are posting the message, so we'll say, okay, this topic is just for posting the messages. Now there can be another topic. This topic is just whenever a user is making friends, right? So we can have the different topics as per the feature, right? And then producer can publish the message into that topic, and then different consumers can subscribe to that particular topic. So all the consumers will receive the data whatever is subscribing, right? So it's like the basic thing, like observer and the consumer, right? The observer means the observer, what observers are the consumers. So whenever you are subscribing to the message to that topic, the all will receive the message, right? Now we have the partition. So like I talked, that Kafka basically make the partitions, right? So whatever data it is publishing, it what it does, it basically makes the partition and it sends the data through that partition, right? Then we have the offset. So offset means the sequence ID, like whatever message it is giving, it has that sequence ID. So whenever it will send the message and the consumer will get it, so it will call as offset, right? Now this topic name, partition number, and the offset can locate exact message. So you would say, okay, this is my topic. Now where is my partition? This is my partition ID, and this is my sequence ID, means offset ID. So this is though through this you can locate exactly that what is your message. So let's say due to some reason, if Kafka is broken, so Kafka is down, so whenever it is up, so through this you can easily locate your messages, right? Now we have the consumer groups. So consumer groups are basically the group of consumer who share the same workaround, right? So let's say if there is one thing where same groups where it is doing the same thing, so we can create the consumer groups of them, right? So these are the basic properties of the Kafka, that why Kafka is used, and what is the main purpose of Kafka, where it is used. It is used basically to connect the microservices to have the messages, and then at the last we see what are the different components of the Kafka, right? So for this video, that's it. If you have any doubts that's come to your mind, or if you see that why it is used, or how producer is created, or how consumer created, so please write in the comment section and I will try to answer that. So thanks guys for watching the video, and please subscribe the channel for more such videos. Thank you.